What's up everybody, it's Joe here with Joseph Blake Photography, and in today's video we're going to be getting into some pretty heavy stuff that's been buzzing around the drone community. We're going to be talking about the potential ban of DJI drones here in the United States. This is going to be an in-depth look, so grab your popcorn and let's jump in. For those who may not know, DJI is a Chinese company and the leading manufacturer of consumer drones. Their products are super popular among photographers, videographers, and hobbyists. But now they're facing some serious scrutiny from the US government. Today we're going to talk about the Countering CCP Drones Act and the American Security Drone Act. These bills are aimed at countering potential threats from Chinese technology companies, and DJI, being a major player in the drone market, is right in the crosshairs. So the American Security Drones Act was essentially aimed at preventing federal agencies and federal money to be used and spent on technology, but we'll say drones in this case, but technology that was specifically either created by or designed by companies who have a significant amount of influence, or have been influenced rather, by the Chinese government. The idea was to protect national security by reducing our necessity for foreign technology. And it essentially prohibits federal agencies from procuring technology or drones from companies that they deem insecure, which includes DJI. This bill was passed last year, signed into law last year as a part of the 2024 Defense Appropriations Bill. And if you don't know what that is, every year the federal government, the Congress here in the United States, passes a bill to make sure that they fund the military. But because politically, that's a really tough bill to say no to and to vote no on. Traditionally, they tack on a lot of extra stuff and they throw in a lot of extra things to avoid fighting over it and to just get it passed along with the money for the Defense Department. And that included this bill. So by restricting procurement of technology from these types of companies, from companies that are deemed insecure, the idea is to mitigate risks and potential data loss to organizations, companies, and countries that might not necessarily have America's best interests at heart. And it's kind of part of a broader initiative to secure federal operations against potential bad actors. So that passed last year. This year, the bill that's currently being discussed in Congress, that has passed the House of Representatives, it got out of committee and is waiting to be approved by the Senate and then signed by the President. That's the process here in the United States, is the Countering CCP Drones Act. The CCP is the Chinese Communist Party. And it is specifically designed to target FCC infrastructure. That's the Federal Communications Commission. They're the ones who are in charge of the airwaves. So your TV signal, your radio in your car, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. If you look on the back of pretty much any electronics device, especially one that has a wireless radio in it, you'll see the FCC emblem on it here in the United States. They are in charge of approving and regulating the airwaves and the devices that run on them. And this bill basically says that DJI drones would not be able to access that infrastructure, the infrastructure that's regulated by the FCC. That means the airwaves, that means Wi-Fi, that means the bands of frequencies that DJI uses to communicate with your drone, whether it's from your remote, whether it's your remote to other devices, really anything that could be considered a communication standard or communication wireless standard between a DJI drone and any other infrastructure. If it's covered under the airwaves that are managed by the FCC, then this would potentially prevent them from doing that, which would make it really hard for you to operate your drone. And if all of that wasn't enough, if we rewind to 2020, as a part of a separate bill, the Department of Commerce added DJI to their entities list. And the entities list is companies that, or organizations that US companies are not allowed to export technology to. The idea being that technology that is created and used here in the United States by US citizens and US companies wouldn't be exported to companies like DJI for future use. And according to the proponents of the bill, right, these moves are kind of part of a larger, broader push to secure US infrastructure from potential espionage or interference. Now, as an additional sort of wrinkle to this situation, recently the Supreme Court made a decision that effectively eliminated a thing called Chevron deference. And Chevron deference was the ability for institutions to get the default position in court cases where they were being sued or regulation was being brought up against a legal challenge, that judges, that the courts would use the institution, the federal bureaucracy, the experts at the Department of Commerce, at the FCC, at the FTC, as the kind of basis for decision. They would figure that they knew what was the right thing to do, and they would defer to them in those instances, which specifically is designed to avoid courts having to make decisions that they don't really have a lot of information about, and also to get around the fact that a lot of laws that come out of Congress are super vague and ambiguous. But with Chevron deference being knocked down, that means that federal agencies like the FCC will not potentially have the ability to enforce some of these regulations unless Congress makes them super specific or the courts decide on how to enforce them. Which means that there might be more legal challenges to some of these regulations and laws, which just means that everything gets more complicated. So what does that mean for us as drone enthusiasts, as photographers, as videographers? Or maybe if you're using DJI drones for commercial applications like agriculture, pest control, inspection, construction, all sorts of things. Honestly, I don't know. It means that it's uncertain. And if these bills pass, or if this bill passes, it's going to make things difficult. And then what I'm going to assume, the subsequent court cases and challenges, going to make things even more complicated. And these bills do have serious implications on the drone industry as a whole. I see a lot of people commenting online, both in my videos and on various websites and social media posts, where they say, oh, it's never going to happen. It's currently attached to the 2025 Defense Appropriations Bill. I don't know. I think it's going to happen, but we'll see. But as you know, and if you've watched my channel much at all, you know that I love markets and I love competition and I love the opportunity potentially that this creates for more competition in the market. Really what I would rather see in addition to or instead of these kind of regulations is why don't we have more drone makers in the United States, more technology companies in the United States building some of this technology. At the end of the day, what we need more of is innovation and competition. So let's take a look at DJI's response. And they've been pretty outspoken, claiming that this is based on inaccurate, unsubstantiated, and overblown concerns, specifically related to how the information that both our drone flights and the video and telemetry and 3D scanning and LiDAR and infrared that we potentially are capturing with our drones, how that is being potentially relayed back to the Chinese government. They argue that their drones don't collect sensitive data by default and that users have the ability to opt out of sharing data altogether. DJI posted a Viewpoints blog addressing concerns about data security, saying that they follow local laws and regulations like any other technology company. And then instead of focusing on a specific company or group of companies or a company that's made or built in a certain country like China, that they should create sweeping regulation across the industry to enhance security across the board. They believe that this legislation will not only harm their business, but the businesses of Americans who use this technology and these devices in their businesses, in real world applications, not just photographers and videographers, but there's a lot of different industries that utilize these drones. But let's not get too gloomy, right? Because whenever there's change, there's opportunity. New companies are emerging, the technology is moving at an extremely rapid pace. So stay tuned to my channel, keep flying, as long as it's legal, and keep capturing amazing shots. So that's all for today. And if this is something that you're interested in, or if you'd like to discuss it further, go ahead and hit me up in the comments down below. And if this is the type of video that you are interested in, I really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. If you'd subscribe to my channel, and go ahead and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. What do you think about these bills and DJI's response? How will this potentially impact you?